So can someone explain this image on screen to me? No. I need someone to really sit down and explain this to me, because I'm about to fucking rip my own ears off. What the fuck is this? So rumours are circulating that Arman Tsarukyan is going to take on Michael Chandler. No, I'm going to say that louder. Michael fucking Chandler at UFC 314 in Miami. Bruh. So Michael Chandler, the number 7th ranked UFC lightweight, which doesn't even deserve this ranking, by the way. Let's just be 100% honest. His last win was in 2022 to fucking Tony Ferguson, who, guess what, just got drafted in the GFL. That's Michael Chandler's last win. His best win in the UFC came 3 or 4 years ago, I believe, to fucking Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker has single-handedly saved this guy's UFC career. That's the only good win Michael Chandler has. The guy is coming off 2 back-to-back losses. He has just lost a number 1 contender fight that the guy didn't even deserve to be in the first place. The guy had a number 1 contender fight. What was it? The November John Jones card. I don't even remember what that card was. I tried to blank it out of my mind because it was fucking dreadful. The guy had a number 1 contender 5-round co-main event on that card in MSG against Charles Oliveira, where he offered up absolutely fucking nothing in that matchup other than picking Oliveira up and jumping backwards in the 5th round. That's the only thing he offered in that matchup. He got completely outplayed, out-grappled, got beat up on the feet. He offered nothing to Oliveira in that matchup. Clearly lost arguably every single round in that fight. And what did the UFC do? What did the UFC do? No, please tell me. Because the logical thing would be Michael Chandler hasn't won a fucking fight in years now. The guy might be entertaining at times. That Oliveira fight wasn't entertaining. He just got beat up and offered nothing. Like, Oliveira showed that Michael Chandler is not elite level by just how easy he beat him up. Chandler offered him nothing in that matchup. Absolutely zero. So instead of going, right, Michael Chandler, we're paying him a fortune, let's put him in a high level matchup with a prospect, because he does have name value. You know, you're not going to see Michael Chandler on the prelims of any card or headline a fight night main event unless it's in a crowded arena. But you know, Michael Chandler, Paddy Pimblett was the perfect fight night main event for London. And Leon Edwards JDM 5-round co-main event, or vice versa, whatever way you want to do it. That was the matchup that needed to be made, not this. The guy's on a 2-fight losing streak, just lost a number 1 contender fight, in the UFC have went, come on Michael, here's another one. Bruh. In what world does it make sense? Yo, I just want to say something. If this fight does get confirmed, thanks to the UFC for completely ruining my fucking birthday. April 12th, you know, I'm giving you a lot of notice here, guys, so you can buy me nice gifts. April 12th is ruined. Skip this day if this fight's made, because this might be some of the worst matchmaking in UFC history. Some of the matchmaking the UFC have been doing recently are fucking terrible. Marvin Vettori, Roman Dolidze 2. Why are we getting that rematch? Who asked for it? Someone sit me down and tell me right now. Marvin Vettori actually thought he was fighting fucking Roman Kopylov, which made more sense than seeing the rematch against Roman Dolidze, if we're being honest. But this right here takes the cake. Arman Tsarukyan might have ruined UFC 311 to a lot of people. He might have, right? The guy got injured. He is clearly the number 1 contender. He fucking beat Charles Oliveira. He beat Oliveira. Was scheduled to fight Islam, had to pull out due to an injury. Everyone knows Arman Tsarukyan gives Islam Makhachev his toughest test in the lightweight division unless Ilia Topuria moves up. And that's not an opinion. That's not opinion based. That's facts. And the UFC are going to go, right, Arman needs one more fight. Okay, so if you're going to go down that route, why not do Oliveira then? Even though I don't want to see the Oliveira rematch, it makes so much more sense than this. Because this makes zero sense at all. How does Michael Chandler get in these positions? How? He is easily the fucking most annoying fighter on the UFC's roster. Because how is this guy always in these big fights? What has he done to deserve a number 1 contender fight? The guy hasn't won a fight in years. Do the UFC feel that bad for this guy because they had him do the Ultimate Fighter and then Conor McGregor just fucking played with him on a string, pause, that sounds weird, and just lured him along for years, so the UFC feel like they owe him something? They don't. They don't. I don't understand this matchmaking. Now, nothing is confirmed yet, but this right here makes me think something is happening. Michael Chandler, as if I fucking didn't hate him enough, tweets this, a palm tree. Yo, shout out to Sean Gayland, questionable name. You don't deserve a number one contender. You don't deserve to fight a number one contender. That guy's a genius. He knows ball. I don't get it. I really don't understand this matchmaking. This is Dana White privilege of the fucking highest degree. We have never seen anyone be this privileged. McGregor isn't even this fucking privileged. McGregor, who's the biggest star the sport has ever seen, isn't coming back to a number one contender fight. But Michael Chandler, who can't get a fucking win in the UFC anymore, is still ranked inside the top 10 and is in another number one contender fight. In what world does that make sense? Honest to fuck, send this guy to the GFL ASAP. Some other bad news, Brandon Royval, he's out of his matchup with Manel Cap. He's injured. I mean, kind of fucks up the flyweight division, because what do you do now? Because you can't go, okay, Manel Cap, Brandon Moreno, because Brandon Moreno's fighting Steve Ercik. So, I mean, do you phone up Kaya Sakura and maybe try and get him against Manel Cap? They've obviously fought before in Rising. Try and get them to headline that card. But again, that's in the Apex. I don't even think this should have been main event in the Apex. This should have been in a crowded arena. So what do we do here now? Because if this fight doesn't happen, I was hoping this fight would happen, because I believe Manel Cap would have beat him, Brandon Royval. And then you have another number one contender in the flyweight division. Now, Pantoja's already beat him, but it's another fresh matchup. So after he fights Kai Car-France, because the UFC are allergic to allowing the clear guy to move up, They don't like Pantoja for some fucking odd reason and won't give him the opportunity that he deserves to go up and fight for double champ status, while the flyweight division and bantamweight division need to sort themselves out. Instead, he's going to have to fight Kai Car-France, who's on a fucking one-fight win streak, over Steve Ercik, who's like, ranked number 9 in the UFC flyweight division, while you have Sean O'Malley rematch Merab when he doesn't deserve it, when the clear fight to make is Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan. 5 rounds, co-main event, UFC 314, Miami. Makes so much sense, but no. So I don't know what the UFC is going to do with the flyweight division now. I mean, you can maybe offer Kaya Sakura up here, see if he can make that weight. Bit of a quick turnaround, he's a big guy. But, I mean, there's a fun one. Now let's end with something that is a bit more happy. This fight right here is apparently being reported for UFC 314. Now look, I don't want to take all the credit and say that I've been going on about this matchup for months. This is a fight that I said needed to be made for 2025. It's nice to see the UFC are listening to me. How about we start listening to the fucking Michael Chandler thing? Get that guy to the GFL ASAP. I can also guarantee something. Michael Chandler, if he went to the GFL, wouldn't even be a fucking first round draft pick. The GFL is going to close after their first event anyway. But this fight right here makes complete sense. Now, I would favour Kyle Borralho over 3 rounds. I think 3 rounds do favour him. I would say Robert Whittaker would be the favourite over 5 rounds. People might say why. Because a lot of people seem to think Robert Whittaker's past it and he doesn't have it anymore. The guy lost to Khamzat Chimaev, who's just wrecked everybody, really, outside of Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman. So that statement kind of contradicts myself. But you know what I mean. Like, everyone just expects Khamzat to wreck everybody. And he done that to Robert Whittaker. And now everybody's like, oh, Whittaker got beat by Khamzat. He's done. The guy's not done. I think, I would love to see this fight over 5 rounds, like a fight night main event in Brazil. I think that would be a fun one. But this fight right here is a perfect feature fight to UFC 314. I think it makes a lot of sense. The guys are very similar in rankings. Robert Whittaker isn't going to move to light heavyweight. I hope he's not big enough to fight there. Kyle Borralho seems to get a bit too much glaze in my opinion. Like, I've seen people saying you need to do a Mavov versus Kyle Borralho to see who the next number 1 contender is. In what world does that make sense? How has Kyle Borralho got himself, or in your mind, got himself to the point where he needs to be fighting a Mavov, who has clearly done the much better work, is on a bigger win streak, has beaten bigger names? You know, I'd understand if Kyle Borralho was coming off a win over Robert Whittaker, and you've got Khamzat versus the winner of Strickland Duplessis lined up, and you're trying to see who the next one is to keep both guys busy, to see who the next number 1 contender is, then I would understand making that matchup, but we're not in that situation. Kyle Borralho needs at least one more big win before you start talking about him being in title eliminators or getting a title fight, in my opinion. I love this matchup right here. This is kind of saving me from, honestly, probably gouging my fucking eyes out. because that right there, God bless. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. I'll see you again in the next one.